behind him, KTM teammates Jeremy Davies and John Hodgson were racing neck and neck. They talk about mad dogs and Englishmen, but this was crazy. Back with the cars, and Klaus Degener and Derek Pinoy were still in the lead, now being chased by the Ford Courier of Arpi Reinecker and Lucas Dreyer. Wilfried Westlau and Dagmar Blankner were holding down third place, with Alfred van Vuren and Piet Pelser up into fourth in a typically consistent performance. There was a surprise in the form of the aging Toyota Land Cruiser V8 of Trevor Else and Barry Labuschagne in fifth place. Rally stars Cassie Coetzee and Wiley Harrington weren't taking any chances, although their Toyota Hilux was sounding a little rough. After running into mechanical problems, Philip Malone and Richard Leake were busy working their way through the field. Former champion Fred Levesque was the first of the single-seaters and had a comfortable lead in Class 9. He was being chased by Niels Eriksson and Mike Pretorius, who were having a steady run in the Chenoweth. The pace may not have been as hectic, but also going along steadily was Class 10 leader Bert Greuf. Stuntman and powerboat racer Popo Skeepers, partnered by Ivan Bartholomew, was also running strongly and leading Class 4. On the bike front, a series of mishaps for riders who had been ahead of him saw John Hodgson into the lead on the KTM. Jeremy Davies was in second place on another KTM, but struggling with brake problems. Saki Niemann was in contention, but later to break his collarbone in a heavy fall. Also in the wars was Yuri Human, who hurt his left foot badly and later had to have his big toe amputated. A couple of falls had seen Mark Myron slip down the field, but bikers are a tough breed. For Gavin Nimmo, there were problems of a different nature, and he was in trouble when the Winston Yamaha ran out of fuel. Errol Dalton was soldiering along on a badly damaged bike after his early fall. His flat track style obviously pleased at least one local. Kevin Tebbett was as spectacular as ever, but ruined a chance of overall victory by constantly stopping along the route to help fellow competitors who were in trouble. Ever the sportsman, he even gave a stranded Jeremy Davies a high-speed lift to the finish. There were few problems for Kevin Fisher, who gradually worked his way through the field, with Koki Bainham on the Team Pro Honda also moving up into a challenging position. Richard Manning had got the better of his duel with Brian Bontekoning in the 200 class. He then spoilt all the hard work by missing a refuel point. The four-wheeler battle was in a constant state of flux. Arpi Reinecker and Lucas Dreyer had moved into the lead when Klaus Degener and Derek Pinoy ran into engine problems. The smooth and consistent Wilfried Westlau-Dagmar Blankner combination had slotted into a menacing second spot. This chap had a grandstand seat of Alfred van Vuren and Piet Pelser, who had slipped into third place almost unnoticed. Philip Malone and Richard Leake in the Turbo Toyota were on one of their familiar charges through the field, with another Toyota pair in Cassie Coetzee and Wiley Harrington adopting a slightly more sedate approach in a bucky that still sounded rough. The aging Else Labuschagne Land Cruiser was still going strong, But by now had come under severe pressure from Fred Levesk in the Motor Tech entry. Also still in the chase were Niels Eriksson and Mike Pretorius in the Chenoweth. The bike refuel points were a hive of activity, and each rider had a story to tell.
I ran out of fuel twice, so I have to make up time now. And I lost my rear brakes, but that's sorted out now, thanks.
How's it going?
Lovely, it's the best race, mad as well.
That's great. The rain's going to catch us though. Big dice now, it's in the rain and ourselves.
Even over 450 kilometers of bush racing, every second counts. Teenager Alex Bowles had taken over the 200 class lead with the demise of Manning, with Anthony Taylor also moving up through the field.
How's it going?
Hey, it's tough out there. At least the water stopped now for a while. I suppose we're going to go back there now. We're close on you, anybody?
The drama in the car category was far from over. While the Reiner-Kadrea and Westlaw-Blankner combinations succumbed to river crossing, Alfred van Vieren and Piet Pelser moved into the lead via the simple expedient of reversing through the deep water. It was unorthodox, but it worked, and that was all that mattered for the Vrystaaters. Philip Malone and Richard Leek followed suit to move into second place. They moved back into the lead, but were hampered by niggly electrical problems which saw them drop back. There was plenty of tension at the finish as family, crew members and spectators waited for the leading cars. After a race so full of ups and downs, there was still a real chance of more late action. For Alfred van Vieren and Piet Pelser, there were no late hitches. They may have taken a back-to-front outlook to racing at one stage, but it paid off in a popular victory for a pair who have dominated Class 5 over the years. It wasn't all plain sailing, however.
Net na maar die boeg toe waar die bakkie warm toe die sy weiers het toe nou aangegee dat dit blijkbaar het water aangekry. Dus die reg gemaak en toe ons weer sonder petrol gaan staan. Toen ons 'n bietjie petrol gekry en toe ons gery tot by 'n winkel en toe daar petrol aangegooi en toe nog gekom tot diesel. Ons het baie tyd daarmee gemors. En toen die bonnet ook losgegaan, het verloor sy catch het gebreek en het ons hom afgehaal by die service point en toen maar so sonder hom gery tot hier.
For Philip Malone and Richard Leek, there were still one or two anxious moments. An electrical problem saw to it that they did not make it to the finish without again coming to a temporary halt. It was a case of all's well that ends well for the Toyota pair after an adventurous race. Second place overall in what was one long water splash and mud bath gave the pair victory in Class 6, with only 8 cars managing to make it to the finish.
Net van so 50 kilometers uit. Die kar het pragtig deur die diep riviere en waterslote geloop. En toe daar water in sy ligsensor. Dit is 'n sensor wat die brandstof reguleer met die lig. En om dit te vind is nie 'n maklike ding en dit vir ons 'n uur, oor 'n uur gevat om te kry. Ons moes hom toe oopmaak en regmaak en uitspuit. En daarvan af het dit toe weer goed gegaan. Dan kon ons 'n bietjie tyd opmaak. En weer eens 'n elektriese foutjie het die res van die dag vir ons gepla. Want er was 'n draad binne en 'n plastiese draad wat af was. En weer eens is dit iets wat baie moeilik is om te vind. En ons het toe maar aangesukkel en hierdie laaste stuk moes ons maar die prys weggee.
The Baberspan turned into a triumph for Toyota. When Kasi Kutsia and Wiley Harrington crossed the line in third place, they were followed by the Lemmer and Lemmer combination to give Toyota the first 4 places. Of the 8 finishers, only 2 were space frame Chenoweths, with the 4x4 Buckies dominating. In the class results, there were finishers in only 4 of the 10 classes, with Toyota and Chenoweth sharing the honours. There was a surprise in the bike category, with Kokkie Bainham taking full advantage of retirements to score his first national championship win. An exhausted Bainham arrived at the line thinking he was in 4th place and was more surprised than anyone that he had won. Tired as he was, Bainham managed to flourish at the end and was a delighted, if slightly taken aback winner.
Party van die ouens wat meeste van hulle bikes in die rivier het verdrink, hulle omkeer, al die water uithaal. Gelukkig het ek en Kevin saam met die rivier aangekom, ons het die motorfiets oor die rivier gedra. So ons het daarom gelukkig gehad, maar verder was dit baie nat geweest. Ek meen ek nog nooit in my lewe so baie modder gesien nie.
In his first season in the 250 class, John Hodgson came home second, with Kevin Fisher a steady third. Mark Myron recovered for 4th place, with Errol Dalton a brave 5th on a very bent bike. For all 3 class winners, it was their very first victory at national level. Kawasaki, KTM and Honda each claimed a victory in the manufacturer stakes.
Hierdie is die ergste sover en almal sê dit, maar almal is eintlik bly daaroor want hulle sê hulle kom volgende jaar terug met nuwe moed want hulle weet dit kan ook reën hier so as dit in hierdie seisoen wat ons hier tydren nou.